मौत से नहीं रास्ता न कभी है।
Rows, please. No shuffling, scuffling, fish stains. Okay. Straightforward water color is going to decide. Pay attention to the bottom of the الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عليه السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال سمعت فاطمة قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام قال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني يجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أرتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. الله كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أمه إني أشم أنك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله فقلت نعم جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدار يا رسول الله أتأذن أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء. ما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل فقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم أنك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدة والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذنني أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معكما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم أنك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله تأذنني أن نكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحب اللواء قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء. لما أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله تأذنني أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومى بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء بيتي وخاستي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم واجعل صلاتك وبركاتك ورحمتك غفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الحساب. قال الأمين وجبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. قال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقولك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فأذن لي يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا من وحد الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله يذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. قال علي اذهب يا رسول الله كل ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما دفنا خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وعفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم لا يتفرقوا. فقال علي إنه الله يحفظنا ويحفظ شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي الثاني يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نبيا ما دخل خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي نذر الله يفزنا وسيدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا ويسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
Please recite last salawat. We please invite our guest speaker, Syed Imran Qaseem, please, with the loudest of your salawats. Please recite another loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا هدانا الله الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على رسول المسدد والمصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد سيدنا ومولانا ومولى الكونين وجد الحسن والحسين عاني أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله أعدائهم أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. قال الله تعالى في الكتاب الكريم فقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تلبسوا الحق بالباطل وتكتموا الحق وأنتم تعلمون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات على محمد وعلى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد.
We have been discussing the historical discrepancies that have been put in our books, and some of the books are very respectable. And we are trying to discuss why these, discrepancies are there, what we can analyze out of those discrepancies so that we understand the truth from the falsehood. Because this verse that I'm reciting, it says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that do not mix the truth with falsehood and do not hide the truth when you know. So we are trying to see why the truth was mixed, or why the truth was mixed, or why the truth was hidden. That's what we're trying to analyze. Now, important thing I want to remind you all today is the fact that today is the death anniversary of the martyrdom of Imam Rida according to veneration. Okay? So before we start, we will recite a Surah Al-Fatiha and give it as a hadiyah to Imam Rida. So all of you please recite a Surah Al-Fatiha. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So all the people who have been here for the past 5 evenings now, this is the 6th one, right? So they know what I've been talking about. Some of you are new today as well, so that is good, very good. And it is raining, so the barakah and the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is raining down on us today. So we try to pray when the rain falls, which is rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now we analyze the situation in the history about why there was the hiding of the truth, what went on. Okay, let me ask this question. Is the narrator of a hadith more important, or the writer of a book more important than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Everybody is shaking their head. No. Okay. So we notice that people are reluctant to criticize a writer of a book or a narrator of a hadith in case, he's a big Moulana, he's written so much research. But when it doesn't sit well with what Rasulullah should be according to the ideals given by the Quran itself, then we have to question it, because our worship is to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not to these writers of the books. Because these writers, however expert they might be, however huge they might have done their studies and research, they can be prone to mistakes. They are fallible people. They can make mistakes. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on the other hand, and the other Masumeen, they are protected from sin. They have isma, like we discussed yesterday, where they have protection from sin. So we should be allowed to at least investigate what is written in the history books. Not get upset by the fact that, why are you questioning it? We should be allowed to question everything. Anything that you do, you only do it when you have seen the value of it, whether it causes any harm or not. And once you realize that it's all okay, then you indulge in that act or take part in something. Now, on one side, everybody considers Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the leader of 124,000 Anbiya, right? Or the prophets of Allah. 124,000 of them were there, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last one. He's the greatest one, and after him there is no other Nabi or Rasul coming. So all this which is agreed upon, right? And then we say, or we read in books that is written that till 40 years of his life, he had no clue what he was, whether he was a Nabi or not, whether he was a Rasul or not. He himself had no clue. So the question I want to ask you all, and you can ask others as well, is what was Rasulullah before the age of 40? Was he an Ummati? Did he follow the previous Nabi or Rasul, which was Isa alayhi salam, 570 years ago? Or was he a Rasul? If he was an Ummati, then he was like a normal person who was following another Rasul before him. Or did it happen that as soon as he turned 40, he became Rasul, and then he became better than all the other Ummati that were there? Because the Nabi or the Rasul has to be the best person in society. According to the logic and the looks of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he has to be error free, which means he must have greater qualities than anybody else in the community, right? Makes sense. So by the age of 40, he was just somebody. And then suddenly after the age of 40, he became better than everybody. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't sit right. It doesn't happen suddenly. So which is why I have this question to ask, but how come Rasulullah, what was Rasulullah? How do you signify the presence of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the age of 40 from his childhood? I mean, what status do you give him? Do you give him just a status like me and you? We're here. And then suddenly, at the age of 40, one of you become the Nabi. So you become better than everybody else. All of the people who were older than you, were like now 70 years old, 80 years old, they'll say, hang on a second. You were just another person. You should respect me now. Now you want me to listen to you. There might be issues like that arising. You know, I'm the elder in the community. You should have to give me the respect and the honor of being better than you because I'm the elder in the community. That happens, right? We always respect the elders over here. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has to have a special status. It just doesn't, it's not like a light switch. It turns on at the age of 40 and that's it. He's now bigger than everybody else. There's so much discord in this analysis. You see where I'm arriving at. How come somebody is nothing or normal, just like any other person, till the age of 40 years? It's not a short while. But you guys think you might not, that 40 must be so old, that person. You guys are way before 40, at least most of you are. So you think you might have 40 is a long time away. But so it is a long time away, of course. But people like me who are past 40 and know that it is a long time that I've been around, what was my status before I was 40? You ask this to the people who wrote those books, that till he turned 40, he was just a normal person. And after turning 40, he became a Nabi that made him better than everybody else. That is the question that if you ask your friends who do not subscribe to the school of the Ahlul Bayt, they will not be able to answer. How come somebody was something just general and suddenly he became better after a certain switch was turned on? Salawatullah Muhammad wa alayhi Muhammad. So it becomes quite, they will say, you know what, this is another fitna of this year. These guys are talking a lot from. Let's not talk about which group of Muslims you are from. Because Rasulullah belongs to all Muslims. There is no need for sectarianism here. Rasulullah is everybody, right? So we have the right to question, why have you written what you've written about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because there must be a philosophy behind writing something, right? There must be a reason. There must be some rationality about writing something. And if there is none, then let me give you my rationality and what it should have been. And then if it is rational enough for you, you accept it like a humble person and move on forward from there. Okay? Now, so just taking on that analogy of being 40 and suddenly the switch is turned on and then you become something else. For example, if somebody invites a scholar who's a speaker on the Majlis and all that stuff, goes somewhere, he's been invited to speak, let's say for Muharram or Rabiul Awwal or whatever, on the month of Ramadan, and he goes there, reaches there a week before. Is he not a Zakir of the Ahlul Bayt till he starts his lectures? Or he is a Zakir of the Ahlul Bayt, but he has not started his lecturing yet. When the time comes, he'll start lectures on that day. So it is something like that. If you take this analogy, you understand better what we are talking about. That person remains the Zakir of the Ahlul Bayt, even though he's not lecturing right now. When the time comes, he'll start lecturing. But he's still a Zakir of the Ahlul Bayt because he does that all the time. I mean, that's his role in society to do that. So all that is something to understand and logical. Salawatullah Muhammad wa alayhi Muhammad. Now going on a different track to understand something else now about how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into the society in Hijaz. You know what is Saudi Arabia now? The actual name of that land is Hijaz. When the Sauds captured Arabia, they call it Saudi Arabia. They own the land. So that's why it's called Saudi Arabia. It's a country now. But the actual name of the place is Hijaz. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent in the land of Hijaz. Makkah is in Hijaz. Now, at that time, the biggest civilizations were not in Arabia. This land was as uncivilized as you can think of. They did not have any civilization. Uncivilized people had no sense of morality or that. The main civilizations were in Greece, in Egypt, in Persia, in India, in China. All these civilizations that you already know about. Some of you study history and they know a little more detail about it. So, and Allah is sending the greatest Rasul, a leader of 124,000 Anbiya, that he's better than all of those leaders, into a land which is totally uncivilized. What's the reason for that? Let me give you an example, then you understand. Okay? Salawatullah Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So imagine a very, very famous speaker who is known across the country, you know, everybody knows him in the city and all that. He's invited to a different place to speak on something, some subject. So imagine a very famous speaker going around to speak on an important topic. So he said, if you come, it will be an honor for us and all that. So he said, okay, I'll come. So he goes there. When his turn comes to speak, he goes on the dais, on the mimbar, wherever he's sitting. He goes there and he sits and he sees that in front of him, there are people who are sitting there with eggs and tomatoes and stones. He's upset about that. I don't know what's going on here. You know, they've invited me to speak on a serious subject. You've got people who look like very uncivilized people. Because if you have eggs and tomatoes and stones, they could be thrown at the speaker, right? And that is what happens sometimes when they don't like a speaker, they throw these things. So the speaker looks to the right, hoping that there'll be some nice people, some supporting him, who look like him, supporting him. And he sees that these are people who are looking really rough and, you know, very uncivilized, and who are making fun of him amongst themselves and having a laugh. I look at the left side, I see little kids, you know, having fun over there. So that speaker is now really upset. These guys have invited me to insult me. So he gets down from the stage and he walks off. And the organizers are now really upset. They're very angry. We invited you, you insulted us. You didn't even say one sentence. And then the speaker gets himself very upset, saying that I am more angry than you are because you invited me in a group of people who are totally uncivilized, who have no concept of listening to a speaker like me. You should have invited a more serious congregation to listen to me. Okay? That's one way. So if that person is invited into a learned kind of an environment and people appreciate him, that is the greatness of his talk and the appreciation of the people. But when a person goes to a group of people who are totally uncivilized, have no culture, and then makes them understand what he's saying and civilizes them, he gets all the rough people to behave properly. He gets all the children who are making fun of him, making faces at him, to behave in a proper manner. That is a miracle. That is the greatness of it. So getting appreciated amongst knowledgeable people is good. It's very interesting, very nice. But it's not a miracle. But getting appreciated and getting them to buy into your ideas of people who are totally rotten and uncivilized at that time is a miracle. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to send his greatest messenger to a group of uncivilized people. Did not even have any culture, who had no idea of how to live life, and disrespected each other and fought each other for some whims or fancies, always taking out the sword. Everything was settled with the sword, and that enmity would carry on one generation after the other. So the mu'jiza or the miracle of Rasulullah is that he was sent into a land which did not have any appreciation of him, and he turned them around towards him. It is like a land which is in a very, very hot place. I don't know if you've been to hot places in the summer, the temperatures can go up to 45, 50 degrees, yeah, and the land becomes dry. When land becomes dry, it can be like a baked land. Nothing will grow on it. Then after a few months of summer, the rain falls and it softens the land. When it softens the land, the farmer takes out his plow and he starts plowing the land. When he plows the land, then he puts seeds in it, and then he gets a harvest after a few months, right? This is exactly what Rasulullah did for 40 years. For 40 years, with his superb characteristics, character traits that he had, of his very, very exemplary character, he tried to soften the hearts and minds of the people who live there. The uncivilized people who live there, he softened their hearts and minds for 40 years. And when he saw that these people are ready for the message now, then he said, "Qulu la ilaha illallah." Say that there is no God but God. And that's when he started to send the message across. For 40 years, what did he do? He had a message through his character. He did not do anything as in preaching, which is why it is said from our hadith that the best preaching is done through your behavior. If you behave well, people will buy into your personality with time. It took 40 years for him to get these people to understand who he was. And these people used to call him, "Look, Sadiq is going there." Sadiq means the truthful one is going there. "Look, Amin is going there." The trustworthy one is going there, because they had now trusted him fully. And that was the time when you give your message, when you have to give your message. There's no point in giving a message to somebody who doesn't even trust you. You will ignore it. Then what's the use of this? You just ignore this message. So that is why it is important, once people are ready for the message, then you give them the message. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Can I ask you to settle down, please? Oh, this bug here?
Yeah, the snail.
That's okay. The snail is not for living. It's okay. It's not going to eat you. It's more scared of you than you are of them. No, this is what happens when you live in the city. You don't see the wildlife. So another loud salawat, please. So in a land where there was no culture and civilization, Rasulullah brought about some semblance of civilization, some semblance of culture, so that they were ready to buy into the message of Tawheed. And that's when he started doing Tabligh, which is what? So just don't think that till the age of 40, he was doing no Tabligh. Tabligh was not through words, but it was through his behavior, through what he showed them, how they should be. That's how they should be. He showed them how to do trade. He showed them how to behave with people who were coming in from outside to do business, how they should do it, how you should be trusted. All these things people bought into. Then only he started teaching them through his words, started giving them the message of Tawheed. Because remember, when he started talking, he said, "If I tell you that there is an army behind this mountain, would you believe me or not?" And people said, "Of course, you have never lied. We trust you totally. Whatever you say, we will believe you." That's how strong their trust was on Rasulullah, because they knew that he will never lie, he will never do anything wrong. And that was also a tabligh, because they trusted him big time. So then, when Rasulullah gave the message of Tawheed, they started listening to him. However, what did they do? Historians, I have a problem with the historians here. Again, we take on the point. I'll tell you the story and you all listen to me very carefully. Right? It's a very interesting story. You might have heard it before, but you all listen to it again. So when Rasulullah, this is what historians have written, and I'm giving a twist by my words, but the facts remain the same. I'm not giving it a twist, I'm narrating it in my words, but the facts remain the same. I'm not twisting anything from history. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the light of the Quranic verse that I recite, I'm not going to mix the truth with the falsehood. When I said twist, I didn't mean twisting the facts. I mean, the words are mine, so it's another twist of narration, so to speak. So when he used to go to the cave, which is known in Mecca as the cave of Hira. When you go to Umrah or Hajj, you can go and visit the cave of Hira. That's where he used to go and meditate and focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is before the message came through. One day, he saw a strange creation. This is what historians have written. Basically, it was Jibril Amin as an angel is coming to him. So then when Jibril came in, he was scared. He was so frightened that he ran out of the cave and he was in the mood to throw himself from the mountain, to get away from that creature, just to kill himself. But somehow he managed to contain himself and come down the mountain where the cave of Hira is. Even now you can go and visit the cave of Hira. And then he came to his house in a very, very anxious and scared state. He was shaking. And he said, "What? Zammaluni, Zammaluni." As in, "Give me a blanket, I'm shaking." And his wife was very concerned. Khadija, she's the wife. And he's very concerned, "Ya Allah, what happened to you?" You know, I saw such a creature, I'd never seen it before, and now I'm so scared about it. Obviously, the women, this is how they are narrating it. I'm not saying it, it's a historians have written it this way. And this story is in all the important books of Muslims. So they said, okay. So the wife is saying, okay, calm down, don't worry, I'll give you a blanket, you lie down here, rest here, nothing to worry about. So then what she did was, because she was concerned about the well-being of her husband, and she's worried herself, she says she's looking for a wise person to go and ask what is happening. So she went to her cousin, whose name is Warqa bin Nawfal. Warqa bin Nawfal. Now this person, he is learned the Torah and the Injil. He has knowledge of all that. So he is very educated. Rasulullah is illiterate. Remember that. According to historians, I'm not saying that. So Warqa bin Nawfal is the learned man. So Khadija Salamullah rushes to her cousin and says, my husband, this and that has happened to him. So what do you suggest? What is going on? He saw this creature and he was scared and he was so anxious. He came out shaking and put a blanket on him and he's lying down. And Warqa bin Nawfal says, no, don't worry. There's nothing to worry about it. There's nothing to worry. It's actually good news. Your husband is going to be the Nabi now. He's going to be the Nabi now. So tell him to go back to the cave. This is the same creature that came to Musa and Isa, and he will give the message of God to your husband as well. So your husband is going to be the Nabi. This is Warqa bin Nawfal advising his cousin sister Khadija, who is the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So Khadija, as the historians have picturized, now she's very happy. She's joyous, as if she's got the lottery. And she's coming out of the house and going back to her own house, and seeing her husband lying down in fear under the blanket, saying, well, this is no time for fear, my dear husband. You can go back to the cave. You're going to be a Nabi. You're going to be a Nabi. You can go back to the cave. And she encourages him to go back to the cave and not be fearing anything at all. Because that was an angel that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from God. So, after a lot of encouragement, he started going back to the cave again. Then the story goes on. One day when he was there, the same creature came again. And he said, read. This is a Quranic verse where it says, Iqra bismi rabbika allazi khalaq. Read in the name of the Lord who created you. And then, so he says, read. First thing, historians are now contradicting themselves. What did they say? He is illiterate. Right? You all agree on that? We discussed that yesterday. But this angel is coming and asking him to read. Is he going to ask an illiterate person to read? A person, when you ask him to read, you know that he knows to read. Then only you ask him to read. So what's the point? But according to the historians, he asked him to read, and Rasulullah says, I don't know how to read. So he grabs hold of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't know how what has happened. And he crushes him in his wings or his arms or whatever it was, and says, read. Still can't read. So now this angel, he's doing open heart surgery over there in the cave. Open heart surgery. So he's got some tray, a golden tray from Jannah, and he's got a golden bowl from Jannah in which there is special water. He gets hold of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He cuts open his chest, pulls out the heart. There's a blot on the heart. He washes the heart clean from the water that he's got, and then places the heart back in there, and that heart is now clean, and he can read now. Sallallahu alaihi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Do you all understand the story? It was very clearly said by me. Did I confuse you all? First things first. Now my analysis. I do not believe in anybody who has no clue about himself. He has to find out from somebody else who he himself is. I don't want to follow that person. I believe in a Rasul who knows about himself, who knows about my past and my future and everything else. I believe in that Rasul. I don't believe in somebody as a Rasul who has no clue for 40 years who he was, and he does not recognize Allah's signs, and he has to be found out and told by a Christian monk, a very wise one at that he is the Nabi. So if somebody else is telling me who my Nabi is, what is wrong with Muslims? What is wrong with Muslims? And you buy into the story because it is written by a very, very important scholar in very important books. At least now we can revisit this and question, how come you say that? And this is where people have tried to infiltrate, and subtle infiltrations of Christianity and Judaism, that they are more powerful than the Muslim book. Why? Because your prophet did not even have a clue who he was. He was told by a Christian, because he had studied the Injil, which is the New Testament, and he had studied the Torah, which is the Old Testament. So he told your Nabi that he was a Nabi, and now you're following him. Well, as far as I was concerned, if I was there, I would rather follow Barakah ibn Nawfal, because he's more intelligent, right? He comes across as he has more wisdom. A Rasul, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran itself says, like I mentioned yesterday, the ayat, that I told you everything that you did not know. He does not know. Who is getting scared of Jibreel? Somebody who is the leader of 124,000 Anbiya. He's a leader of Moses and Jesus. And he is scared. 40-year-old man, he is scared of an angel who comes in a manner that he comes in. The wasi of Rasulullah in the childhood, when he was a small baby, was not scared of a python, and you expect a Nabi of that wasi to be scared of an angel? What kind of logic is that? How ridiculous it sounds to all of us. Even youngsters are finding this strange. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So he started going to the cave, all that stuff that happened, and then let's look at the next aspect of what they have done to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They have tried to tarnish his character in many ways. My dear brothers and sisters who are listening, and people online, they have tried to tarnish the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in many, many ridiculous ways. I mean, they have got no compunctions that they are talking about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the final representative, the greatest representative, and he is one who is going to bring the deen for all time to come. And yet you are leaving no efforts to tarnish his name. I cannot even narrate all the narrations that are there. There are a few which are quite amazingly horrible. But I will narrate one too, which is a bit more palatable here. What happened was, once he was leading the namaz in the masjid of Nabi in Medina, or wherever he was leading, it doesn't say where he was leading, so he was leading the namaz, and then he broke the namaz after he started already. Broke the namaz, and he said, oh my God, I've forgotten, I needed to do ghusl. So I'll have to do ghusl and then come back and lead the namaz. So then they saw him come back, water was dripping from his hair, and then he did the namaz. First of all, you need ghusl when you are unclean, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, if a normal, what do you call, person leads the namaz in the masjid, in the Imam Barga, in the Islamic center, wherever, he makes such a mistake, then the committee will come out to him and say, thank you very much. But you who have no idea about, you are so careless that you don't even know that you are leading namaz in a state of uncleanness. We don't want your services anymore. Thank you very much for your services. You can change the imam, right? Because you don't want somebody who's so careless. You don't know how much carelessness is other things as well. And then you expect Allah to make his last and greatest Nabi, his greatest Rasul, to be so careless? Somebody whom he has given all the ilm himself, which so that he cannot make mistakes? Somebody who has Isma, and you're going on talking like this about Rasulullah. It is because of these narrations that have existed that there were some horrible books, very poisonous books written about Islamic, Rasulullah mainly, and the religion of Islam. I'll name two books to you, one of which you might know. One is called Rangila Rasul, which was basically bringing like a colorful personality, the colorful Rasul, the colorful messenger, basically implying a lot of low character stuff. And this book was written in the end of the 19th century or the beginning of the 20th century, sometime. And another book is the Satanic Verses. Most of you have heard of that book? Yeah, no? Read out Satanic Verses. It was written in the 80s. Okay? And the author is Salman Rushdie. Everybody has heard of Salman Rushdie in recent times. So these people have used these kind of narrations to malign or try to malign the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then when these people write bad things, the Muslims get all agitated, all jumping on the streets and burning cars and breaking down glasses of buildings. But if they did a little bit more research, then they will realize why this is happening. What is the root cause? Where it is coming from? It's coming from the books that you hold dear to your heart, because you are trying to malign the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When you try to question these books or these narrations, people get really riled up. They're ready to fight you. How come you don't believe in these books? These are respected books, they're respected scholars. How come you don't believe it? There must be something wrong with you. And you and me, okay, well, maybe you don't know your research yourself. You don't know your own books yourself. I have brought out this fact from your book. You go and study your book and then see what it feels like. So let me give you an example, okay? Imagine in England, in the market, we have some counterfeit 50-pound notes. You know what counterfeit means? Fake ones. Fake 50-pound notes. So I give you a bag of 150-pound notes, right? So how much is 100 times 50? 5,000? 5,000? Everybody agree with that? Okay, 50 times 100. 5,000. Everybody agrees with that. So now I'm giving you 5,000 pounds in 50-pound notes. And then you start looking at each and every note, checking it. And I'm getting upset. You don't trust me? I gave you the 50-pound notes. You should trust me. That you know that in the market there's a circulation of counterfeit notes. I have to check. Otherwise, if 5 or 6 notes are dodgy, then I'll lose. You'll say that to me. So no, you don't trust me. All that. I start getting upset and all that. So I said, well, I need to make sure that this is okay. Otherwise, I will return the one that I don't think that are real, and then you can give me the real notes. Because I'm not doubting you, but they are available in the market. So if they are available in the market, these counterfeit notes, it might just be a possibility that some of them might be in this bunch of notes. Okay? So what does the government do then? Just imagine, it's a hypothetical possibility. What does the government do? It creates a machine in which you can stick that load of notes and it will throw out the ones which are fake and keep the real ones, so that you can go and change it wherever, or whatever you want to do with it. The bank doesn't want, nobody wants to, but you can check this on that machine, or you have the ultraviolet light, these torches and all that. You can check all the notes there, so everything is okay. You are confident that this is okay, this is not fake. So all this is there. So similarly, we know that these kinds of notes exist in the market, and we have the right to check it, and nobody can question us. Similarly, in Islamic history, there are narrations which are counterfeit, that are fake, that exist. We all agree on that. And if we want to check them, then what's the problem? But then I ask, is there a machine where I can check these fake hadiths at? Then I'm told, yes, there is a machine. It is the Quran. The Quran does exist. But what does our Imam they tell us? The ulama tell us that any hadith that you find which does not tally up with the Quran, throw that hadith on the wall. Do not accept that hadith. The Quran is the standard, and you check these hadiths in the standard of the Quran. And as long as it is in concordance with the Quran, then it's okay. If it is in contradiction with the Quran, then throw that as hadith away, because the Quran can never be wrong. The hadith might have been manufactured by some people. Okay? So this is a possibility. So that machine does exist, and we can check it. In Muharram, in certain places, they have these tables outside some Islamic centers. There's lots of little glasses of cool drinks for people to drink. In the name of Imam Hussaini Islamic, we give people drinks, so that we remember his thirst, and we just give people drinks. Especially in the land which are warm, they do a lot. There's lots of nice stands. Everybody, like every muhalla or every locality, tries to bring their sabil. It's called a sabil, right? And where everybody's putting some stuff. Somebody's doing ruafza, somebody's doing a lemon drink, somebody's doing a Coke or a Pepsi or a 7-Up or whatever. different people have different things, and all different kinds of drinks are made. And everyone there has a what do you call, every locality has a famous drink, and they make their drink. So let's say one sabi, which is going to supply 1,000 glasses of drink. Somebody comes to me and all of you says, listen, that sabi has got a fantastic drink, and they've got 1,000 of glasses of that, so you can go and enjoy it. It is a lovely drink. You'll feel refreshed after that and all that. Fine. So I'm happy about it. But there's a but. But one of those glasses is laced with cyanide. You know what cyanide is? Potassium cyanide. It's a poison. As soon as it touches your tongue and goes in your blood, you're finished. So one glass has got cyanide in it. Then I don't know which glass that is. But 1,000 glasses, one glass has got cyanide. The rest is okay. Every one of you will say, no, I don't know which glass that is. I don't know to try any glass. Because of one glass, the rest 999 glasses also have a bad reputation. Nobody's going to touch it. The chances of dying are very low. It's 1 in 1,000. There are more chances of walking out on the main road on the A4 and getting hit by a car or dying in a plane crash than it is in getting that drink. 1 in 1,000 chance of dying. And yet, you and me will say, no, I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to take the chance. If that is the situation with the glass of a drink, then why should I not be careful? Why should I take the narrations from people who have sat on the pulpit for 70, 80 years and cursed the wasi of Rasulullah Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and then written narrations? Why should I trust them? They are feeding poison to us. They are feeding poison to the community. I will not trust them. And their handwriting, all these narrations are smeared with the blood of the murder of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. I will not taste any of it. I will question each and everything unless and until I'm certain that is okay, that tallies with what my ulama say, my Aimma have said, which leads up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Only then will I touch any narration of yours. Why should I trust anybody who has been poisoning the whole community by being sold out for a certain few dirhams or dinars by the Umayyads? So I don't want to trust anything. And that leads me to the point of where Karbala is. In Karbala, we learn how to disseminate the truth from the falsehood. How do we do that? People say, oh, you talk about Karbala all the time. Well, Karbala is a litmus test. You know what a litmus test is? Chemistry students, you know, acid and base differentiate that, right? So it's a litmus test where you can differentiate truth from falsehood. That is why we talk about Karbala. Why do we talk about Karbala? Because, you know, both sides, there were people who were saying, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Both sides, there were people who were Hafiz al-Quran. Both sides, there were Hajis. Both sides, there were narrators of Hadith. And Faqih. Faqih means jurisprudence. Both sides, they were there. But they had two armies, two opposing armies. One army had only a handful. The other army had between 10,000 and 120,000, whatever it is. But the number average given is 30,000 in there. And both of them were saying the kalama, and both of them were talking about, you know, Hadith and Quran and Allah and Rasul and all that. And they were trying to kill the opposing army by saying Allahu Akbar. So the litmus test is what? How do you find out which side is with the truth? You find out in Karbala who stood up for no gain in this world. Who stood up to do the tabligh in order to change the ummah from bad to better. Because Imam Hussaini Islamic did mention that I have not come out for any worldly gain. I have only come out to do Islah of the ummah of my grandfather. What is Islah? Islam means to change for the better, to give them some education so that they change for the better. Because the ummah had gone down the drain so far, so deep into the mire that they needed to be given, they needed the blood of Hussain in such a manner so that it survived. Karbala is where the deen is saved. Karbala is where the character of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is protected. All this happens in Karbala. And that is why Imam Hussein's sacrifice is the ultimate sacrifice that we have. One of these days, when his friends are dying one by one, Abu Sumama has died, Syed has died, Habib bin Muzahir has died. Zuhair al-Qain has died. Now it's the turn of the Bani Hashim to go into the battlefield and fight for the cause of Imam Hussain al-Islam. Before anybody goes, the children of Aqil, elder brother of Imam Ali al-Islam, they go. Then the children of Jafar go to give their life. And amongst the children of Jafar are the children of Bibi Zainab Salamullah alayhi, because Abdullah ibn Jafar is the son of Jafar, who is known as Jafar al-Tayyar. He's the older brother of Imam Ali al-Islam as well. And Bibi Zainab Salamullah alayhi sends her 2 sons. She prepares her sons in a manner to say, my sons, when you go to battle tomorrow, make sure you do your uncle proud. Make sure you do your paternal grandfather proud, and make sure you do your maternal grandfather proud. The maternal grandfather is the father of Bibi Zainab Salamullah alayhi, which is Ali Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam. And the paternal grandfather is Jafar al-Tayyar. And those 2 children go and fight. But before they go out to fight, Bibi Zainab just reminds them of one thing. She says, my sons, I know you will fight very bravely and you will show a lot of valor because you are the grandson of such 2 great personalities. I know you will win a lot of battles in 1-to-1. But if you get close to the river, remember not to drink from the water of the river, because Sakina is thirsty. Your uncle Hussein is thirsty. Remember not to drink from the river, she says. And these 2 children go and fight. And they fight with such valor that there's a hue and cry in the crowd of the army of Umar ibn Sa'd that these are not normal children. These are the grandsons of Ali. They do not fight like normal people. They fight as if nothing is going to beat them. And they fought and they fought. And they fell down on the ground because they were surrounded by the enemy. And they were brought down. And they shouted for their uncle, Ya Aba Abdullah, take our salam. And they passed away. But before they passed away, Imam Hussain reached one whose life was still there. And he said to Imam Hussain, oh uncle, just tell our mother that we did try our best to fight, and we fought and killed a lot of enemies, and we did reach the river, but we didn't drink from the water of the river. I hope she is proud of us. May Allah accept this small ibadah from us in this gathering, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah give us the tawfiq to stand with the truth in the time when times are difficult, when we are faced with the truth and falsehood. May Allah give us the tawfiq to give all Muslims the tawfiq to investigate all that has been written in history in such a manner that is confusing Muslims up and down the world. May Allah give us all hidayah and grant us depth in the name of the wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. صلوات الله محمد وعلى محمد.
There won't be matam here because there's tabut in the Urdu. So if you could all please make your way to the Urdu. Your shoes are all on the ladies' side, the opposite side.
All this will continue to start.